Hello, friends. It's John Clan III with episode 123 of Shadow and Flame of Magic, the podcast. And today we're going to review episode 7 of X-Men 97. So let's get to it. And thank you to Walker D for the new theme song to the podcast. Really appreciate your time making that. And so episode 7 was 34 minutes long. It's called Bright Eyes. And if you follow me on Twitter, which I highly recommend you do, is I find myself to be quite fun on there. My Twitter handle is Jackal SIII. Rogue gives us the previously on X-Men, but with a southern flair. And we finally make our way back to Genosha. Still no Magneto in the credits, but Nightcrawler's there, and there's no new footage in the credits as well, from what I could tell. The episode starts with Gambit's funeral, and he has this very nice portrait made of him, with like he's raining down his cards, which makes me wonder if all the X-Men have portraits, and we're just waiting for them to get picked off one by one. Kurt is the priest at the funeral. The Thieves Guild shows up, including Gambit's ex-wife, or present wife. I don't know what they are for that. Um, it is not Madeline Pryor on Scott's arm, but Jean Grey, but with her hair down. Kurt, oh yeah, and I'm not very sure who is the bright eyes of the episode, but Kurt's eyes are very brightly lit. Oh yeah, and Rogue is not attending the funeral, and I would not want to be on the other side of her fist, and nor does the military, as she is in some desert location at a not so secret military base, and she's just punching everyone. And we get General Ross, who also mentions the Hulk by name, so that's pretty fun. Maybe we're building a uncanny Avengers team, perhaps. And Ross says he doesn't fear any mutant from the swamp, which I don't know, seems extremely racist coded. Oh yeah, then Rogue says some comment about what her daddy always says is easier to break into prison than it is out of prison. Which is like, how often does that even come up? And Rogue is looking for Gyrick and Trask. Cyclops is talking to Senator Kelly, who also cannot help, and emphasizes like, "Hey, man, like, aren't you at least happy I'm a human doing helping you out?" And it's like, yeah, you're not really helping much. Oh yeah, within the universe, it's been a week since episode 5. I guess Storm is taking the long way home, as they haven't heard from her. We hear that Val Cooper is also missing, and also it's been a week since they've found a new mutant, or any new mutants. Oh yeah, Senator talks. Oh yeah, Cyclops mentions, or Senator Kelly mentions polls, and Scott states that he wishes he cared more about death tolls than over polls. And I'm like, well, that just rhymes, so you know it's true. Oh yeah, and Ross mentions your kind, as does Senator Kelly. And because two old white men say it, it seems very racist coded as well. Oh yeah, and the X-Men have the Blackbird back, so I don't know if Kurt flew it back, is my guess of it. But then they all fly back, because that's just how air travel works when you don't have a mutant teleporter. We see the Blob is there helping out. Um, we get the Mr. Rogers quote about always look for the helpers. Oh yeah, Amelia Volt is there, which I like, and I especially like it when she's not being hampered by Xavier. Trish Tilby shows up with Hank. They go for a walk together, which is nice, as she asks for no cameras to follow. We see Rogue at a snowy cabin, and then we see Captain America's there. So I guess he woke up in the meantime from that one episode of Wolverine. There's a secret basement. Uh, oh yeah, he threw the shield at Rogue, and then she picked it up, and then just continues to own it. We see the letters OZT, which clearly stands for Operation Zero Tolerance. And then which is the name of the next three-parter, the season finale. Oh yeah, Cap mentions he has a team, but I don't know if he means an Avengers team or a Shield team or the Hulk's on it. Oh yeah, and then uh, Cap says he's too tired to help, and Rogue's like, "Well, you're too tired, and you're too tired for this," and just like tosses her shield, like or his shield, just like she's Superman from Superman Returns when he comes home finally, and the dog wants to play fetch, and he just throws that ball for like 8 miles, and it's like that dog's never getting it. Like he hates that dog, and people don't seem to remember that moment from Superman Returns, but it's in the very beginning, so you get to find out what type of Superman we're dealing with, which I do appreciate that Brandon Roth got thanks to the Arrowverse crossovers, and he got to at least be Superman again. That was fun. And Cap can't go to Mexico City because of the optics, and there's a lot of optic talk, which seems insensitive. Cyclops is walking around. A strong guy shows up, and not only does he show up, he gets a couple of lines of dialogue, and we see forearms there. Jubilee references how she just got done talking to her parents, which is nice, as usually once you join the X-Men, you just abandon all your parents or family members, unless they, like the Guthries, get powers themselves. I know Kate barely talks to her mother. She seemed like she was, just one of your classic daddy girls, and she was in conversation with Carmen all the time. And then, we lost him in Genosha, and Teresa showed up at her failed wedding to Colossus, and I think that's the last we've seen her. Oh yeah, and Julie's pressuring Berto to come out to his mother, and he might just do it because time is short. We get confirmation Callisto's um is dead. They reference how they gotta do some damage control, which makes me think that they should hire damage control for Genosha. Hank has some real resentment towards Trish, so maybe we're getting a Scott and Hank revolutionary stance from them. Oh yeah, and they all keep talking about tolerance, where it's like, oh man, you're about to have zero tolerance. Oh yeah, and then I don't remember if episode 5 had the Magneto statue, the head of the Magneto statue and the head of Xavier statue. Just gotta be an easier way to describe that. Right next to each other. But someone put them there if not. Oh yeah, and I really like seeing this side of the road where she's just following leads and like going where she wants to go. I guess where she flies, she can, literally show up anywhere within like an hour or two. And Jyrek thought he had the upper hand like a real dum dum. Rogue's tired of his nonsense and absorbs information about the Nimrod. Jean relates the horrors of her own relationship with Scott. And at least Scott and Jean are talking about this, and we still don't have any confirmation where Madeline is. Hopefully she's okay. Oh, and then they found someone. Yeah, the 15-minute mark in 35 seconds. Emma Frost is there, and she is in her diamond form with very red lipstick. And I think they really missed an opportunity here with having her body be found with like shielding 5 other kids. Right, like it would been such a nice way to set up a hero turn for her. And now instead it's just like, well, did she not learn anything? Is she not inclined to do anything? I mean, I guess it's more open-ended this way, but without showing that, it's like, well, is she just gone now? Oh yeah, Trash just calls the X-Men, which makes me wonder if Trish released their phone number to the world when she was releasing all the other information. We waste no time with this when Trash reveals that Sinister is behind everything. And then they go to Matterport, and I start recognizing if Logan has a different actor because it sounds different, but also it's why the most he's talked the entire seven episodes so far, which I like that Logan's not the focal point of this. Like usually stories are not going well when he is the no when it's Wolverine the X-Men. And Jean sounds different too, so I don't know if she's just using a somber voice or not. We do see Berto is going to confront his mother, which I was like, are they going to use the have you tried not being a mutant? But they don't. And she seems very supportive, and then she is not supportive as she wants everyone to be kept private, of course. Um, oh yeah, we have Rogan Kurt hugging as she makes a comment about how, like he really won the foster sister um lottery, which I think he did. So, and with Magneto missing, she's lost both her boys. And then they hug, which makes me realize that the X-Men should be doing a lot more hugging, like in comics and in all other media. And then Bastion just kills Gyrick. Oh yeah, and then the X-Men stop by Mexico too, so that's interesting. And Bastion's voiced by the actor who was in Time Traveler's wife, but not the wife, but the time traveler. So that sounds cool. And if they ever go live action with Bastion, you probably make a good one. Oh yeah, and I question if the X-Men dropped Kurt and Jean off in Mexico on their way to Madripoor, but instead they actually picked up Rogue and everyone went. And Logan doesn't recognize OZT either. Morph makes a reference to Trask. Oh, yeah, they catch up to Trask, and he mentions how he's a poor man's Oppenheimer. So topical, but topical for us. Like, I don't think there'd be any reason to talk about Oppenheimer in '97. But Trask, to his credit, hears the comment and mentions and questions if he is in fact Death, which is like, all right, buddy. And Trask has lots of regrets. And then he jumps off the side of the building. And they're on top of a skyscraper. And it seems silly that he would even try to end everything with a flyer and a teleporter and a telekinesis nearby. And then Rogue catches him. They have some dialogue. And then literally, since he can't give him anything, just lets him go. And everyone just stands there dumbfounded. And then there's a huge explosion. And we find out that Trask is a human sentinel. So like an Omega sentinel, I suppose. So that's how we get around the fact that, which I don't know if they have parental counsel for this or, well, what do they call that? Practice? Um, PNS. No, PNS. So the P would be practice. Services and practice? Practicing? I would Google it, but I have no idea how you even, I can't Google for the wrong words. Standards and practice. Nailed it. And, um, So it's like standards of practice are like, well, he can attempt to do it because he's not going to die. So sure, it's fine. Oh yeah, so he's a prime set now. And Jean uses her powers to like keep all this debris from falling, and she does not, to her credit, um, faint afterwards. So that's great. I love that. Morph changes into Quicksilver and then becomes super fast. So that's weird that he can do that, right? Like he's not just he doesn't just change morphs into other people. He actually has their powers, or at least with their physical powers. And then Morph is shot by the Sentinel, which triggers Logan. So he's getting like two moments this episode. And then Cable shows up and saves his dad, which just proves that I don't think he's going back to stop Genosha. Like I think this is it. And then Bastion references how much of a loser Xavier is. Um, we get a purple people eater reference for the second time, which is odd. as we see Magneto is alive and is the prisoner of Bastion, and who is shaving Magneto. So that is weird as well. And I own Purple People Eater, which I don't know why I did. I think someone questioned it, and I was like, well, let's hear the song. And for whatever reason, I bought it instead of just going to YouTube. And so, what an interesting penultimate episode. Oh, yeah, and then the thank yous. Not only did Jack Kirby create the X-Men with Stan Lee, but he also created Captain America with Joe Simon, so we get special credit there. Um, we get pull this up. Sal Pacima thanked for the first time, which I don't know why he was. Um, I think it's for Roberto, but he wasn't thanked before. John Byrne, Chris Claremont, Dave Cockrum, Jerry Conway, Pascal Ferry. Oh yeah, no one else mentioned how episode 6 was a love letter to Dave Cockrum. So maybe I just read into it, but Comic Book Queer's Legacy nor Simply Amazing did. So I'm like, well, shoot, I thought Simply Amazing might make a reference, but I don't think Uncanny X-Cast has done a review for episode 7 yet. And I don't know Pascal Ferry. Like that name sounds new to me. Michael Godin, Bush Geist, Jim Lee, Steve Lailola, Rick Leonari, Rob Liefeld, Scott Lobdell, Joe Mad, Bob McLeod, and he gets thanked because of clearly Berto. Grant Morrison, Carlos Pacello, which I think he's added because of Passion. Frank Quitely, John Romita Jr. and John Romita Sr., Werner Roth, Jim Shooter, which I think Jim Shooter is the first time being thanked. Mark Silvestri, Louise Simonson, which I always appreciate. Tim Sutton, Roy Thomas, Herb Trimby, and Lean Ween is spelled correctly. So, all in all, pretty good. So, let me see what comics came out last week. Okay, instead of fighting Marvel calendar, like they just put 2 weeks worth of comics up. So, Avengers 13 came out by McKay, who's going to be writing X-Men. So I'm like, well, might as well do this Fall of X tie-in, and it was pretty good. 3D Man turns out was a secret mole, but secret to himself. So unlike Firestar, which is weird that X-Men and Avengers both had moles inside Orcus, and they never came across each other. But 3D Man was working with Black Panther the entire time because it's like, how did 3D Man was okay with mutant genocide? Like that doesn't, it's hard to bounce back from that. There was a fun moment where Wanda's holding back the Sentinels, and Vision shows up and goes, "Wanda," and Wanda's like, "Avengers," and it's like, "Oh, Wanda, I ship you guys so hard." And I think that's the main takeaways. Oh yeah, and then Rise of the Powers of X4 was so good, and I don't know if it's because it's more grounded and we're doing more Earth-like things, but and Kieran Gillian we trust, and I don't know, it was a pretty good book. Trying to think of all the things that happened, but I thought it was the best issue of the series so far. I really appreciated the editor note in X-Men Forever 2 that said read Rise first and then Forever 2. And we also get a moment where we find out that this is happening concurrently with Fall, with Apocalypse coming to Earth. Well, it's mostly because in Fall we saw Xavier fail to convince Nimrod, but here we see that he's working with Omega Sentinel, who's like immediately like, yeah, let's do this plan. And that we see Rachel's doing okay. And we got more character interaction, so that was great to see. Feels like we're making moves here, and the X-Men are slowly leaving the White Hot Room. And Xavier has to be done as a character after this, right? Because even if his mega plan goes well, like he has betrayed, like the X-Men, he's allowed mutants to die, and so it feels like we're going to retire the character after this, or he's going to be Prisoner X. Wolverine Matterport Knights 3 came out, and as far as I could tell, there was no other X-Men characters, and I don't know, that's what it was. And then X-Men Forever 2 was so good as well. My biggest takeaway was that Destiny reveals that she is Kurt's actual mother, so I wonder how long she's known that information. We're going to need an uncanny title to um, tell us where should we learn this information, and her revealing it to Kurt and Mystique, who both know already. And hopefully Mystique is forgiving after a real chat, and they're going to have, and then Kurt's going to need to talk to Destiny as well. It feels so good to have a week of Rachel where she's back in the top of the X-Men pantheon. She matters again and isn't just a side character tagging along on adventures. Once again, I haven't really given Hope's birth father any thought, and it seems weird that it's come up again. And if anyone's going to reveal it, it should be Kieran, Gillen, and hopefully it's just a regular dude and not like an X-Men villain's daughter. And Hope's complicated enough without having to add another branch to her history. And Jean's back, and the Phoenix is scared, and Hope may have to shoot it. So we'll see what's going on. And Sinister is really um, participating about this too, as Rasputin the Fourth is trying to like hit him again for his betrayal. Oh, and Sinister's back in his own proper body, and actually everyone's back, including Forget Me Not, which is awesome. But it does seem like all the non-name mutants are going to be left in the white hot room to eat fruit, like root vegetables. So I don't know about that. Hopefully they do make it back. Rachel refers to herself as a Scani, so I love that. And they're just gonna escape and go back. Um, oh yeah, so the X-Men are seen like launching out of all these gates, and so we'll see what happens in Fall 5 and Rise 5. So that's pretty exciting. And then comics out this on Wednesday. Let's see here. We got X-Men 34 with Duggan and Cassara. I feel like I said that in a weird way. And Shadow Kate makes the cover, so hopefully she's in the interior. But the cover is pretty much a homage to the Concrolan era, so that's nice. Invincible Iron Man 18 has Magneto showing up saving Iron Man. Oh yeah, then I couldn't tell if the Avenger comic took place before this or after this because Iron Man's just in that fight. Power Pack Into the Storm 5, which is the concluding issue, and no Storm on the cover, but she has to be there for it. Cable 4 comes out, so we'll see, and then maybe that's concluding. Weapon X-Men 3, which 2 had magic in it. I mean, an alternate version of her as the Supreme, Sorcerer Supreme. So we'll see who shows up for that. Deadpool and Wolverine World War 3, Issue 1. Star Wars Phantom Menace 25th Anniversary Special is out, so that's a thing. Oh, and Blood Hunt 1 starts, so I'm excited about Blood Hunt Magic, so we'll probably review that on the podcast. But, you know, I think Jubilee gets a tie-in and Laura gets a tie-in. So, yeah, so that's not too shabby. So what else is going on? Sort of love having, like, I've been wanting instrumental, like, transitions, so pretty happy about it. Um, so hopefully you're enjoying it as well, dear listener. Oh yeah, so Walker D finally got me to play Lego Fortnite with him because I've sort of been getting an itch to play a new Lego game, especially on his channel, Walker D World, and how he's been playing Lego City Undercover. Mostly as he really wants to play Grand Theft Auto 5, and it's like, nobody. But that game's essentially a Lego version of that, but as a cop. But you can still, run into cars and take people's cars and jump from buildings and just have the funs. And so he got me playing Lego Fortnite, which is pretty fun. I did all these creative maps, or there's a survivor mode and a creative mode, and so I did all the creative quests as Psylocke, and I got three videos on my YouTube channel, Jacko SIII. Um, and when I first logged in, I got like so much stuff unlocked, and I was tempted to get Leonardo, but I'm like, you know what? I think if Lego Fortnite sticks around, I think I could commit to just getting all X-Men characters. But there's a part of me that really wants to get Leonardo. But there was this Ninja Turtle gear bundle that came out that you could win in this super or bonus battle pass, and I didn't want to buy it then because then I'd probably be just playing Fortnite a bunch, and I'm trying not to do that. But um, but I'm tempted, and I got enough V-Bucks I can treat like I what was it? I think it was a 100 V-Bucks short of just getting all the Ninja Turtles. But I'm like, and as I told Walker D, like, you don't need all the Ninja Turtles. Just pick your favorite. You're never gonna play all four of them at one time, so call your shot. And um, so now I'm like, well, I might as well wait until the bundle comes out. And I guess Walker heard YouTube or mentioned about how next season could be an X-Men season, but we'll see. I mean, it's supposed to come. The season ends in May or something, but and then I made a Survivor mode with Cable. It felt like the right character to launch a Survivor series with, and but I'm like, well, I don't want to mind just making a video for at least all the characters, which I think I have like eight X-Men characters. So, and then maybe end on a Wanda Scarlet Witch episode, and then call it good. But I don't know. It felt good playing Lego game. It felt good to log in with X on Fortnite. I leveled up, and I think I got to level 4, and so I unlocked some free items in the battle pass. And if I remember the battle pass correctly in the past, I think they just gift you all the free items anyways, as long as you played once. Um, so I'm gonna resist playing the actual game or the music mode they have or the Rocket League mode. But it was fun seeing all the things I unlocked, and I think I got Walker very jealous over it. Um, I didn't really tell him. I don't know why I chose not to continue the conversation, but thanks to PlayStation Plus, like I don't know, I've been claiming all the Plus items, so most of it's that. But he sweetly was like, "Oh, they're trying to entice you back." No, I feel like he didn't say entice. But oh, and one more thing, Free Comic Book Day is May 4th. Be with you, so that's fun. So we're going to Great Falls to Kelly's Comics. I'm hopefully be there pretty early as I read on that X-Men comic. And it's just my anxiety. So my wife's just going to be like, "No, we're leaving at like 9:30 to get there at 10:30 because they open at 10." Hashtag not promotion, but not a sponsor. Hashtag would gladly have a sponsor. Um, but yeah, and usually if you get there early enough, I guess this is the point I failed to mention about how he gets these pre bags of so you just pick up the whole bag and then you're good. But I can only imagine he purposely orders the lots of the DC and the Marvel comics. But and then the free comic book day is supposed to be the Blood Hunt and X-Men, flip one. And then I'm hoping to buy the three Storm comics I need that Anno Senti wrote, that all feature Lockheed. And then I'm hoping that they still have the issue of Howard the Duck special they made months ago that also had Lockheed in it. And then there'll be four less comics I need on my backlist. So, which I want to say I'm like 25 Lockheed appearances away from all the appearances. So I'm slowly working in. There's a Art Adams variant cover I really want to get, but I think the cheapest I found was 14. But I feel like, oh, I might as well put variant cover as a final move and then get them. But it's a pretty great variant cover. I think it's like a close up on Kitty's face or Kate's face, excuse me, and Lockheed's face popping on up. So, oh, and they're releasing a bunch of Uncanny X-Men variant covers. So I'm waiting for the day when we see exceptional X-Men variant covers, and I'm really hoping we see Lockheed on one of those. But um, time will tell. So thank you everyone for listening, and I will talk at you later. All right, everyone. Bye.